Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Appreciate you hanging out with us on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And plenty to do here on this Wednesday. Got JD PicKell of On 3 Sports be with us in 15 minutes talking all things college football. It's a What If Wednesday. You can get those into the Bayou Ford chat. For those of you that are filing in there, if you want to hit me on Twitter at HuntPalmer88, you can do that as well. Are the SEC and Big Ten in cahoots for football scheduling? Talk about that at the end of the hour. Cody Rourke covers the Broncos for Locked On Broncos. Sean Payton's return to the Dome tomorrow. We'll talk about it with Cody. And our SEC football power rankings coming up at 2:30. Beck, how are we feeling about said power rankings? You've had, I guess since we last spoke, 22 hours to digest.
Not feeling super great, but I do think
lack
that
of confidence.
I think you're going to handle the Vanderbilt situation correctly, because you had them at 10 last week, which I was surprised by, even though I believe they deserve to maybe even be higher than that.
They're truly a developing situation.
They really are. I mean, at this point, it's not even a developing situation. It's just a situation. It's
It'd
just
be a
situation
if they just had 1 week, but they've been steadily pretty good, which is a developing situation in my estimation. They can win 8 games.
Easily.
Easily, I wouldn't go that far.
I would.
They don't do anything easily.
Anchor down, Hunt. That's all I'm going to say.
They kind of went to Kentucky and won easily. We'll talk about that at the bottom of hour number 2. We start with LSU and Arkansas. Here's the deal. You're driving around or you're watching on YouTube. If you're paying attention to this show, the odds statistically are that you're an LSU football fan. Maybe you're not, but the odds are that you are. And I'm just going to try to get inside your mind here for a second and see if I do a good job of that. When I say LSU and Arkansas, you probably look down your nose. When I say, is LSU-Arkansas a rivalry, you say, no, we don't care about Arkansas. We care about Bama. We care about Florida. That's where your mind probably goes. I'm just guessing, but I feel like it's a rather educated guess. Do you hate Arkansas? You're trying to find some room to hate. You got tons of hate for Alabama. You hate Florida. As of last week, Ole Miss is singing Hotty Toddy during the LSU alma mater. You probably hate Ole Miss. You probably suggest, Arkansas, who cares? That's just my guess, but I feel like it's probably on the right track. And you probably understand that Arkansas does very much hate LSU. That fan base hates LSU. It's a big deal when Arkansas plays LSU in that program. And that's not me guessing. You can take one trip over to hogville.net if you want, and you can read. They don't like LSU any. And Sam Pittman was on the SEC teleconference today, and he spoke about the importance of this rivalry in the Golden Boot and LSU and Arkansas and what it means to that state today.
Anytime you have a long history of playing each other, and the proximity where we're recruiting, against each other, I think that puts a different feel towards the game. And then you throw a trophy in there. Certainly we've talked to our kids. We had a bye week too, so we had a little bit more time, but we talked to our kids about the significance of the history of this game and what it means to the state of Arkansas.
And it does. And you can try to brush that away as an LSU fan, but quite frankly, it's the wrong thing to do. Let me go into these numbers. This is not like one snapshot or a small deal. This is a significant piece of the history of this rivalry. And I'll break it down this way. Let's talk about recruiting and where these two programs rest in terms of talent acquisition. Let's just take the last 6 years. I'm not going over 20 years of recruiting classes. Let's just look at the last 6. Over the last 6 years, do you know how many 5-star recruits Arkansas has hauled in? The answer is none. Over the last 6 years, do you know how many LSU has hauled in? The answer is 11. Even more damning, do you know how many 4-star recruits Arkansas has recruited over 6 years? 32. That's a hair over 5 per class of 4-star players. How many has LSU had in the last 6 years? 85. They've almost tripled the amount of 4-star recruits as Arkansas, and 11-0 in 5-stars. The talent level between these two programs is not comparable. It is never comparable when they step on the field. Let's look at championships. In the last 24 years, LSU has won 3 national championships and played for another one. Arkansas, not even in the zip code. Never. Arkansas last went to Atlanta when I was in college. I was a freshman, 2006. They have never won the Southeastern Conference Championship game. LSU, been there, done that. There is no comparison over the last 20 years. And you want to start going back to the 50s and 60s? Yeah, Arkansas had some damn good teams. Southwest Conference, sure. You want to talk about this era of college football? Arkansas is not even a blip on the radar. LSU's a blue blood. And look at this game year in and year out. Yeah, LSU has won 3 of the last 4. All of them decided by 3 points. Last year, 34-31. Might I remind you, Arkansas sucked last year, and LSU had the Heisman Trophy winner, and it was in Tiger Stadium at night, and it took a miracle for LSU to win that game. 2 years ago, LSU went up to Fayetteville, 13-10. LSU had just beaten Alabama, 13-10 is what it was. Arkansas came into Tiger Stadium 2 years ago, beat you 16-13. The year before that, LSU won it by a field goal, 37-34. Then you have like the Chad Morris years where Arkansas didn't beat anybody. So I'm not really going to count that. Chad Morris literally never won a conference game. He collected all that money up in Northwest Arkansas, never beat anybody in the league. My cat Teeny tied with Chad Morris for SEC wins. 0. But you go back to 2007 through 2015, that's not a small sample size. That's 9 games. Arkansas won 5 of them, LSU won 4. This is not one coach. Not just Les Miles, not just Ed Ogeron, not just Brian Kelly. It's not just Houston Nutt or Brett Bielema, Bobby Petrino, Sam Pittman. It's all up in the air. It's all comparable. This has been a competitive rivalry on the field despite the massive talent advantage that LSU has, despite the massive prestige advantage LSU has, despite the massive differences in the two stadiums. Arkansas gets up for this football game. You want further evidence to this? I will give it to you. How has Arkansas done against Alabama the last 17 years? They are 0-17. They've never beaten them. Further, how about Texas A&M? They recruit 4 and 5 stars. Did they win the SEC? Never. Did they win national championships? Never. But are they better than Arkansas? Are they more talented than Arkansas? Yeah. How's that rivalry going? A&M's won 12 out of 13. Auburn's schizophrenic. They're good sometimes, terrible sometimes. They pop a Cam Newton. They go to the national championship game with Nick Marshall. Sometimes they're awful. They've won 9 out of 12 against Arkansas. Arkansas doesn't play anybody at that talent level the way they play LSU. So you can laugh and jeer and sneer at the boot all you want, and you can look down your nose at Arkansas. And look, I'm sitting here right here. I'm an LSU alum, an LSU grad. I'm an LSU fan. I don't hide from it 1 second. And I told you last week that it made me sick that I had to sit here and give you my honest opinion that Ole Miss had a better football team than LSU last week. That's what I told you all week long. I thought they did. I'm still not certain that LSU's is better, but they sure as hell won on Saturday, and that's all that matters. So I have some of that arrogance and some of that ego as well. It's just in there from success. It just comes with it. But I can also look at the history of this rivalry. I can look at the history of this series and suggest, hey, the dudes in that locker room better get ready to go this week because you're going to show up in a full stadium full of people that do not like you, that are on a mission, that are off a bye week, that are ready to play some football. And if LSU thinks, well, Ole Miss is in the top 5 and Arkansas kind of sucks, just give us the ball. Where do we show up? You will get beat. Because it happens all the time. I'm just going through all this history right here. And I'm not telling you that Jacob Hester and his 2007 team with Matt Flynn and the whole gang underestimated Arkansas. That was a unicorn of a team with 3 guys in that backfield that were stud NFL players. And that's not going to happen at Arkansas ever again, but it did that year. But the point being, you understand you're in for a fight when you play in this game. And I don't care about the golden boot either. They can leave it wherever it is. I care about winning the game. And we talked about this yesterday. If LSU shows up and wins this game, all of a sudden, you're really in an advantageous spot late into October to make a push to the college football playoff. And LSU's good enough to do that. But it's not going to be a walkover on Saturday night. I told you all of August that I thought Arkansas was going to be atrocious. I told you I thought they had no quarterback, talent level's gone, Petrino's not going to rescue them, and they were going to be probably the second worst team in the SEC. They're not. They went to Auburn and won. They played a good A&M team close. They should have won at Stillwater. They manhandled Tennessee and beat them with a backup quarterback. They're not good. They're not great. They're not going to Atlanta. They're not going to the playoff. They can beat LSU on Saturday, and they're going to care to do it. So LSU, it's the first key to this football game is going to be to match Arkansas's intensity. And the guys that I talked to yesterday, Josh Williams, Braden Swinson, Jordan Gilbert, those guys, we asked them, how do you get back up after an emotional win like that? And they all gave the right answer. And the spirits were high, and the energy was good, and it felt like they were ready to go. And I have no reason to believe they won't be ready to go, but I'm just reading you the history here. Arkansas will care a lot on Saturday, and you're going to walk into a stadium that is going to be on fire. And we've seen some SEC teams go on the road this year, and it hadn't gone so hot. So just to lay that out, I like LSU on Saturday right now, but there's some staggering numbers about how Arkansas performs against Bama, A&M, Auburn, and then you look over and you go, well, how do they pair against LSU? Well, about split down the middle, and when you consider the talent differences, that shouldn't be the case. It's a rivalry game to one side, and you need to match that intensity coming up on Saturday. If you're looking for our LSU football content, you can find it on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. Also got some great stuff up right now at LouisianaSports.net. Sam Pittman updated the status of his quarterback. Brian Kelly talked about some of the injuries with LSU on the teleconference. All of that's at LouisianaSports.net. Ross Jackson has got some Saints coverage for you. And Charles Handgriff has a great column up right now talking about Sean Payton's return to New Orleans tomorrow and what that means to him as a native South Louisianian who has loved the Saints for a very, very long time. I think it's a great read. So go check that out on LouisianaSports.net if you're in your lunch break currently, or once you stop your car, maybe check that out. Don't read and drive. It's bad look. All right, when we come back, JD PicKell on 3 Sports next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. How's the closet situation at your house? If it's great, awesome. If it's not, do something about it. I've lived that. My wife despised the closet situation in our first home. It was a great home. Closets, not good. We had coats in one room. The guest room was full of stuff. We had her formal wear somewhere. All my coats were in the hallway. Like, we didn't have room in the bedroom for a closet situation. And you said, well, why didn't you call your sponsor, David Duvall, One Bath and Closets? Well, we were going to move, so we weren't necessarily in a hurry to make that happen. We did move, and when we did, we prioritized our closet situation, and it's made a huge difference to my wife. If you don't want to move to have that relief of more closet space, better use of your closet space, One Bath and Closets is the spot you need to go. David Duvall and his team have been doing it for a very, very long time, and they're happy to help you with it. If you're thinking, don't know if I can pay for that right now, holidays are around the corner, financing options are available. 18 months, 0% interest if you qualify. So get that process started with a free consultation, One Bath and Closets. Check them out online, onebathandclosets.com.
Hunt Palmer, lover of LSU, Shreveport, and mayonnaise on hot dogs. The Hunt Palmer Show.
Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. That means it's a What If Wednesday. Get your what ifs in the chat, Bayou Ford chat there on YouTube. We'll get to those in the next segment. Right now, let's talk to our guy, JD PicKell, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports, talking college football, with us every single Wednesday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. JD, how we doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. So this is on me. I didn't know that y'all were on YouTube. That's on me. I didn't know that we were on all the platforms. I mean, that feels like a no-brainer now that I'm saying it out loud, but this is good news. Okay, I'm dialed in. Let's go.
Got to be on YouTube these days. The folks got to visualize. So I'm not necessarily the face that people are looking for on YouTube, but this is all we got to work with. So here we are.
Hey, don't say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
Look, it was a good night in Baton Rouge on Saturday. Tigers got home against Ole Miss in overtime. What'd you learn?
I think we just keep seeing this team being the epitome of gritty. Now, what does gritty translate to on the football field in terms of like a win-loss perspective? I don't know. But we keep on seeing LSU be pushed into a corner and then fight their way out. Like the South Carolina game feels very reminiscent in a different way of the Ole Miss game. Multiple spots where LSU could have thrown in the towel or said, you know what, this is too deep of a pit to climb out of. And the Tigers, after everything that was said about them after week 1 and the loss to USC, just continue to battle. I'll also say this, Hunt, 4th and 5, you don't get it. The game's pretty much over. What do you dial up? Something nice and, something easy for your quarterback like hitches, or maybe it's quick game. You get some slants going. Joe Sloan says dial it up. 4 verts. Taking a page out of my playbook in college football 25. 1, I love the gutsy call. 2, the fact that you trust your quarterback enough in that spot to go 4 verts, and then also to throw it 50-plus times in that game. I think it speaks volumes to what they think about Garrett Nussmeier internally in terms of deliver, man. It's enormous.
Is Ole Miss good?
I think they are. I think Ole Miss is good. I think they rolled in Death Valley at night and found out what Death Valley at night is. I mean, I feel a little bit sheepish here because I was the guy that said, hey, I think Ole Miss is going to be able to overcome that. Foolishly, I thought that. I think Ole Miss is a bit of a case study for us here in what you get if you lean heavily on the portal. I think talent gets you in the door, but making all that talent work together and solidify itself is a whole other equation. And, I mean, heck, we saw Oregon the first couple of games of the year not be able to put the pieces together super effectively, and they just beat Ohio State, arguably the best roster in college football. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is you can live by the portal so long as you understand what you're getting into. And this is probably something that I think LSU fans will push back on, but I'd be very curious to see if that game was played on a neutral site field in November. And obviously that wouldn't happen, but if that were the variables we're working with here, is Ole Miss, more solidified as a roster? Do they gel together better? Because I think Ole Miss, you can make a case for them being as talented, if not more talented, than LSU, and that was a big reason why I think we saw them be a 3.5-point favorite going into Death Valley. So all that's to say, I think Ole Miss is good. I think they're talented. I don't think they've put it together just yet, and we've seen that now on 2 separate occasions creep up and get them.
By my eye, they looked good to me. I mean, that defense looked really good, especially early in the game. I mean, I expect LSU to throw the ball on just about everybody, and it doesn't bother me that Ole Miss didn't have a sack because I just don't know if a lot of people are going to get to Garrett Nussmeier this year. That's LSU's strength. But they looked like a good football team to me, and they've got the worst record they could possibly have at this point because they haven't really played anybody. It's just an odd deal to see if he can keep them together the rest of the way there in Oxford. But they looked like a good team to me. They just they came up 1 play short, which I was fine with, quite frankly. Let's go up to Eugene. I didn't get a chance to watch much of it because we were obviously on the field at the same time there in Baton Rouge. But how impressed were you with Oregon?
Dude, first of all, what are we doing with this TV scheduling? Why can we not figure out a way to get LSU Ole Miss a big time matchup at a different time slot than Ohio State Oregon? Maybe I'm being idealistic. Oregon, I think. I came away from that game, Hunt, feeling like, man, we may have just seen the best 2 teams in college football, and I understand Texas exists, but as much as we want to praise Oregon for winning that football game, and we should praise them, that Ohio State team, once they round into form, and I think they have probably some ground that they can make up on defense because I think the personnel is better than how they played. I wouldn't be shocked in the slightest if we saw that game again for the national championship or for the college football playoff semifinal. I think both those teams answered some really major questions. Oregon, we hadn't seen them play their best game like that all year, and it came at the right time. I think it is now a fact that you can get done what you want to get done offensively with Dillon Gabriel. And a lot of discussion around Dillon Gabriel, and deservedly so. How about Will Stein, the OC for Oregon, just dialing up winner after winner against one of the best DCs in college football in Jim Knowles? So, I mean, I think that deserves a lot of credit because, I mean, Dillon Gabriel hit some throws downfield, but, like, this is a Ohio State secondary that's got NFL dudes all over the place. And Will Stein kept dialing up vertical shots that quite frankly looked like Ohio State wasn't able to be prepared for. So I think that was massive. On the Ohio State side of things, I think you have your answer on, do you have enough in Will Howard to go win a national title? Like, I get the last play is going to be all over social media. I get that we're in the punchline culture where it's fun to dunk on people for silly mistakes. Should he have known where the clock was at? 100%. Like, didn't get down in time, effort played is what it is, charged for the game. But I'm sitting here saying, okay, if Will Howard, if I know I'm getting, call it 80% completion percentage like he did against Oregon and over 300 yards and no picks, granted there wasn't that review on that one potential interception, like, Ohio State's going to be a wagon. Ohio State's going to be, just like I mentioned a second ago, right there in the mix for the national title. So it's a long-winded response on both of those games, but came away very impressed with both, and Oregon got a big program-defining win at home.
I get that decisions have to be made and you can't predict the future, but like I can't help but look at Eugene and look at Dillon Gabriel and look at the way that he played in that game, and then look immediately to Dallas and look at an Ole Miss an Oklahoma offense that scores 3 points with a true freshman quarterback, Michael Hawkins, throwing for 148 yards. Like, what happened there, and why were they so antsy to get to Jackson Arnold?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I actually, my opinion on this is solely based on the interview I heard from Will Compton over at Bussin' with the Boys, because they sat down with him in the spring. So take of this as you will. The way that it sounds is all off season, going into the season rather, Dillon Gabriel is like communicating and planning with Oklahoma, like, hey, this is my last year. I didn't get the draft grade I wanted previously, so I'm going to do one more year and then I'm out. So like everyone's on the same page. Hey, he's gone out for this year. Great. We're going to pivot from there. Sort of like one of those things where you're staying at your friend's house for a week and then you find out your flight was delayed. Like, you're not going to stay another night. You're just like, okay, I'm going to go figure something else out. You guys clearly have been great to me. Like, thank you. I'm going to pivot. Also, Jeff Lebby leaving Oklahoma probably didn't help if there was a pitch to keep Dillon Gabriel. So I don't think this is so much Oklahoma like whiffing on keeping DG. I think it was more so a thing like, hey, you had this certain number of days to stay. We appreciate you so much.
It's interesting, and certainly they're hurting there in Norman. How big a loss is that for Lincoln Riley? How big a win is it for James Franklin as Penn State comes all the way back and beats USC 33-30 in overtime?
Oh man. Yeah, that was like the no-win situation for whoever lost that game. Like, there's no sugarcoat. I'll start with Lincoln Riley. The tricky part for them is they got thrown into the most physical conference, arguably next to the SEC in college football, with the defense that was still trying to be pieced together. And the defense is better. There's no argument about that. But the defense is still not at a place where they can compete for winning the Big Ten. And when you have a brand like USC and you have a head coach like Lincoln Riley, that fan base is not going to be engaged unless you're bringing home hardware. And so there's this expectation, I think, intrinsically and just maybe optically with that logo and with that head coach, that like, we're going to go compete for double-digit win season / conference contending kind of years. And right now, with what they have on defense, like, that isn't necessarily something that you can put together. The unfortunate reality is you had one of the better teams in the Big Ten on the ropes, and you let them back up from 14 points. So now that just kind of adds the salt in the wound. It's funny because I don't know that I have like an amazing review about Penn State leaving that game either. And transparently, I was dialed into Redford for a lot of that game and then kind of flipped back and forth. But the thing to me that's encouraging is like, okay, hey, down 14, we're able to come back. Aller goes for almost 400. Like, Penn State, you and I both know this. They're down 14 points a year ago. It's a death sentence.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well just change the channel. So I think you're seeing the motor, you're seeing the progress. Don't love being down 14 to a USC team. Don't love the interceptions, but regardless, they'll take a win. And that game against Ohio State in November in Happy Valley gets all the more intriguing.
Let's move forward to this coming weekend. Sneaky game here because Miami has kind of been on the ropes a couple of weeks in a row. They go to Louisville on Saturday for a morning kickoff. They're a 5-point favorite, but is this the spot where Miami slips up, or are they going to get better and not go up against the ropes against some of these lesser teams?
No, I mean, I think that's the exact right question. Like, the way that I think about it, how much gas emotionally and competitively is like in the tank for Miami? Because I think if you're being idealistic, you can kind of explain away the last two spots. It's like, okay, Friday night, Vatek's a good 2-loss team. You don't take them seriously. Weird things happen on Fridays. Okay, you won the game. Great. 10:30 local kick if you're Miami going to Cal Super Bowl. Awesome. Like now, though, you got a bye week, got the circadian rhythm back right. You got the chance to hopefully correct everything on tape and have a good week of practice. Like I'd be surprised if we saw Miami roll out there and look like they did in the first half against Vatek and Cal. But at the same time, whether it's Louisville or whether it's somewhere else on the schedule, I think Miami's going to drop a game. I just don't think they'll drop two, and so I think they'll find themselves in Charlotte with a chance to get a bye through the first round of the college football playoff.
Third Saturday in October, Alabama going to Tennessee. Two teams that were on top of the world a couple weeks ago, not necessarily anymore. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, the difference a month makes.
Yeah.
I mean, September, we were both penciling these teams in as college football playoff teams, and now we're like, gosh, what's up with Bama? Where's the Heupel offense? To me, if Tennessee were to win this football game, it would take something we haven't seen from them in the last couple of weeks or seen from them, period, against formidable competition, which is like anything downfield in the pass game. So a very gettable Alabama defense. But if you're just, all things being equal, I think I trust Milroe. I trust DeBoer. I love like the physical giftings of Nico. I love the Tennessee defense, but like I've seen what Alabama can be against good competition against Georgia. I haven't seen Tennessee be able to look how they're supposed to look so far this year against anyone with a logo worth anything, that is.
Here comes the big one. Georgia and Texas top 5 showdown in Austin. Texas a 5-point favorite. What do you think?
It's kind of a similar conversation for me as we had for Alabama, Tennessee. Like, excuse me. I just think that Georgia secondary is so vulnerable. I mean, gave up almost 400 yards against Alabama, gave up 300 yards against Mississippi State. Yeah. Granted, Mississippi State being an air raid approach, like, you kind of tilt the scales a little bit and then, bulk up the stat sheet that way. But like the bottom line here is I think Sark is just licking his chops. I think Ewers is licking his chops. It's a little bit confusing to see how Georgia's operated this year because I think we expected them to be a little bit more well-rounded offensively. And they have really just lived and died with how Carson Beck goes, which I get, to some degree, everyone in college football does. But like, they're 56% a throwing the football kind of operation right now. Like in my mind's eye, I remember Georgia being like a bully ball kind of team, regardless of what the ratio was. Like it was, we're going to move you up front. We're going to give the ball to our running backs and we will beat the absolute heck out of you. And then Stetson Bennett will make something happen over the top and we'll get it to Bowers, whatever. Like that formula doesn't really seem like it's there right now, going on the road to a Texas team that's hot, that's good defensively, that's good in the trenches, that has, I think, a case for the best quarterback in college football if he's on. It all comes down to if Ewers is on and if he's able to knock off that rust. If he is, I think Texas has a real good shot in this one.
5 seems like a lot of points to me. We'll see what my pick is come Friday, but that seems like a lot with Georgia. I just that seems significant. I just did a whole segment to start my show about how Arkansas plays LSU really, really well and doesn't really play anybody else really, really well. This is a big spot for LSU coming off of the Ole Miss win at home. You go on the road. Arkansas is off a bye. Tricky spot for the Tigers?
Tricky spot for the Tigers. I'm really curious where Taylor Green's at. Are you hearing anything on his health? Because if he can go,
Sam Pittman said today he said he's practicing. He's not quite full speed. They think he might be able to get there. So my guess is he plays and he's 90%.
Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of where my assumption was, because if he's not Taylor Green, the Taylor Green that can take off and get you a home run on the ground. I think that's massive for LSU. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. Like, I've seen LSU be incredible defensively on the defensive line, but at the same time, like I have Lenora Sellers up the gut on the quarterback, I guess, inverted option against LSU and Willie B. Now, I think Taylor Green's probably, when healthy, a more dynamic athlete than Lenora Sellers. I know Jackson Dart, even with the sacks that he had against LSU, still ran for like 20-something yards on the ground on 15 carries, which I don't know how that all works out the bottom line is the thing that concerns me if I'm LSU is the quarterback design run stuff because they've struggled with that, it seems like. But overall, I think that this LSU team is actually finding their stride. I think that Ole Miss win will kind of bolster them a little bit. I like the Tigers in this one.
Yeah, they're getting better. We'll see if they can pay it off here. You got 2 on the road before the bye week, before Bama. You got at Arkansas, and then you're at A&M next week, which is going to be really difficult. But they're in a good spot right now. We'll see if they can pay it off on Saturday night. He is J.D. PicKell, host of The Hard Count. Subscribe up to the On3 YouTube channel. Check him out for your college football content each and every day. He's with us on Wednesdays. Thanks, J.D.
Always a pleasure. Go Tigers.
It's What If Wednesday coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Always want you to check out their Instagram feed. It's right there, avss_BR. They put some great videos up that show some of the capabilities that they have. I know folks like me, a lot of folks out there, not necessarily super savvy with tech and what's possible with audio, video, and security. They know it all right there at Audio Video Security Solutions, and they can help you with your home entertainment system. They can help you wiring the speakers out in the backyard or out by the pool if that's something you're interested in. If you've got an outdoor kitchen and you want some sound out there, and all of it's so easy to control right there at the push of a button on your phone. They also handed off a security system at the Palmer house that can arm the burglar alarm. I can disarm the burglar alarm remotely right there from the app on my phone. If you're looking for any and all of that, you can check it out at Audio Video Security Solutions. They're online at avssla.com. People's Choice Award winner, best vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year. Fantastic people, fantastic to work with. Call Mitchell Fisher, 225-439-7920. Again, that's 225-439-7920. Check them out online, avssla.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully Hunt remembered to bring his laptop charger. Nah, there's no chance.
No laptop charger today. We got 3 hours and 3 minutes.
Well,
I can drive to Shreveport with this bad boy.
I gotta
Type
stop
it all the way.
I gotta stop playing that drop so early in the show. I need to start playing it later because that's when it really gets dicey for you.
You know, sometimes you got to live dangerously, back.
Yeah, that's because Hunt Palmer is definitely the epitome of living dangerously.
I take some risks now and then.
Oh yeah, of course.
I don't ever take it.
No, you don't. You're the opposite of risk.
Sometimes you don't have the charger, but we got it today. We don't have a phone charger down here today. We're not looking great on phone battery. 34%.
Well,
I think we're gonna be okay.
That'll be all right.
But sometimes you got to run up and grab a few chargers. It's all good. Let's play What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
Oh, all right. First one here. What if you could set the worldwide temperature permanently?
Oh, so I'm like setting it for everybody and it never moves.
I guess so.
I mean, the conventional wisdom for like day-to-day activity and living is like, well, I want it to be like 63 and put on a light jacket, but then like I can't go to the pool or like you can't do anything in like real. I like some of the hot weather activities. Like I don't ever need it to be 28 and snowing. Like that didn't do anything for me. My wife loves it because she can turn the fireplace on and watch a movie or something. Like, you can do that when it's hot outside.
You can.
I guess I'm just gonna. I mean, I like going to the beach too. Like that's a great. But I guess I'm just gonna have to set it at 60, and I'm just gonna go to the beach in a pullover. Like that's what we're gonna do.
Obviously,
like I'm just not gonna be able to go swimming, I guess.
Obviously, there's a lot of problems with this prompt because if you set the worldwide temperature at one temperature everywhere, it would probably cause some issues in terms of.
We're not talking about that. We're just gonna talk about living.
Yeah, we're just gonna talk about living.
Work off activities.
I would probably go like 65. Maybe 68, something like that. No humidity, I guess we're assuming as well. No humidity, 65, 68, I think is perfect.
I honestly think my dad would put it at 90.
90?
I think he would put it at 90.
You're the text him and see what he says.
I'll see. He sometimes he listens, so he might. But I think he would put it at 90.
That's absurd.
He hates the cold. He just wants it to be warm.
Even 80 is not cold. Even 80 is hot, and it's not even close to being cold.
But yeah, I think I would. I mean, like if I could pick my golf weather, like the golf weather I played
70.
in Northern California when it was like 58, 61.
That's not bad.
I mean, you're moving and you got a jacket
yeah.
on, like that's all good. But again, like I love the summertime activities. I love getting in the lake, riding the jet ski, going swimming, all that kind of stuff. And you're kind of, I mean, I guess you could put on a wetsuit or something, but it's not even the same.
No, it's not, I don't think. But let's move on to the next one here. What if Nick Saban had left Michigan State and instead of coming here, he went to Arkansas and coached there for 20 years?
I think he would have turned them into a national power. I don't know.
I mean, it's just hard to... Obviously,
he's got to get the guys.
He
got here, and okay, there's Marcus Spears, Michael Clayton,
Louisiana,
Marquise Hill, and he just went and got all those guys, and that would be tougher at Arkansas. It's a tougher sell. But once he got those guys and he did win, he could then. I mean, you've heard those pitches online where he's talking about, well, I had this guy, and they practiced against each other for 3 years, and they were both top 8 picks in the draft. You want to do that? Come on. And then it comes. It's not autopilot because it's not, but like. To an extent, it's a lot easier. The skids are greased at that point. But I think he would have found a way at Arkansas with that money and those facilities to start recruiting. It may have taken longer. He got to LSU in 2001 and 03, but I think he would have turned them into a power. And I guess the point here is like you're playing Arkansas this week and like what's possible with that program if you get the best coach. I think he would have eventually done it. Yeah. Yeah,
I think in that, and then when you in that exercise, I think then it's like, okay, well, where. Obviously, if he goes to like a MAC school where he's not going to win a national championship, then it becomes like, what's the lowest level he could have went and still succeeded?
That's another question. I'll answer. I think he could have won at,
like, let's just say Mississippi State.
Yes. Oh yeah, for sure. Down here,
that's true.
In that where those kind of players are available,
maybe Missouri.
You got to realize that Mississippi State, Bama doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And neither does that LSU. He didn't turn. I mean, LSU might be waffling.
I guess I'm trying to think of
West Virginia.
Yeah, or maybe like Missouri.
I think he does it at all those places.
Yeah.
I think he was that good at coaching in that area. Once it got to basketball on grass, and you could Joe Burrow and Josh Heupel him or Hendon Hooker him, like it took a hit defensively, but like he would have been elite defensively and could have gotten that out of a lot of programs. It was just faster at LSU and Alabama than it would have been. By the way, reporting in from my pops, 85 is what he would set the temperature.
That's not as bad as 90, but I mean, still, that's just that's a lot. That's a lot to. All right, next one. This one will be interesting. What if I offered you a 2024 college football playoff berth as the 9 seed, or a guaranteed spot in the men's Final Four?
Okay, so if I'm the 9 seed, I'm on the road playing the 8, and then I would play the 1.
Yep.
Is that right? No, that's not right.
Well, no.
It's 8, 9, and then I would play. Because the first 4 get a bye. I don't know the bracket yet.
Yeah.
So you've got 5 playing 12, 6 playing 11, 7 playing
you would
10,
8, 9, and
8 playing 9.
Yeah, and then you go to 1. And
I would play the 1. Yeah, I would play the 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is how it works. So that's good that you're in the playoff. And that'd be an incredible scene at Penn State or whatever we're talking about here. And then you got to go play Oregon or Ohio State or Texas or Georgia, I guess. That's enticing. I'm interested. I would love to see LSU in the Final Four. I don't know if this team is constructed this year is going to be a force in the Final Four, but you never know when you find Florida Atlantic in the Final Four, or you find VCU in the Final Four, and you got a fighting shot.
South Carolina made it that year.
Yeah, they made it. Yeah, for sure. I so desperately want LSU to get back to a Final Four because that's just something we don't do, and I've seen the football, but I'm not going to be contrarian here. I'm not going to blow smoke. I would take the 9th seed.
Yeah, I think I would take the Final Four. I know a lot of people are going to be, oh wow, you're crazy. Why would you ever do that? I just think that making the Final Four,
it's 3 weeks of like delirium.
Yeah,
because you win the first weekend, then you win the second weekend. You're building up to the third weekend. Like that's That's fun.
I think it just validates Matt McMahon as a coach for LSU, and also just elevates the program.
That is a great point. That I didn't extrapolate it out that far.
Yeah,
to go,
I was thinking about that.
But that means we might really have something here.
Yes.
Now that might change the math, but I'm kind of looking for that for Brian Kelly too. So I'll stick with my answer.
All right, next one here. What if Rita Benson had won her lawsuit?
So she kind of steps in for Gail. I don't know every I and T of that entire thing, but I know that essentially Tom kind of angled it and Gail got more than Rita. But I don't know exactly what the deal is. I don't know that it's a huge deal. I don't know her personality. I kind of have a feel for what Gail's is, but because Rita's been in the background, I don't know exactly what she's like. My gut tells me probably not a massive difference in the New Orleans Saints, but then again, we do know that ownership does make a big difference. So it certainly could. I don't shut the door on the possibility that there could have been change, but I don't know enough whether or no. I don't think the Saints would have moved or anything. I just think it could potentially look a little bit different.
All right, I got one more here. What if Whit Weeks was ejected for targeting versus Ole Miss?
Oh, man.
And we kind of talked about it a little bit.
I mean, you had to get that stop, force him a field goal at the end to allow yourself to go get the touchdown. He was the best defensive player on the field. You might not win that game. And then I don't want to go into a game where I think Arkansas is going to run it a good bit, not having him. And then you got Greg Penn, and probably going to have to put a freshman in there because West Weeks is now redshirting. So that's not good. We do not need Whit Weeks to get a targeting at all anytime. So I think it might cost you 2 games, honestly. So it already didn't cost you 1. We'll see how things shake out coming up on Saturday. That's it for What If Wednesday. Come back and close out hour number 1 next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. When you think Genesis, you should think luxury. It is absolutely a luxury line of vehicles. When you think luxury, don't automatically rule yourself out. I can't. Well, just try. Give them a try, Airline and PQ. Stop by the dealership. Let me tell you, this dealership is first class all the way. Their sales ambassador team is phenomenal to work with. It's a pressure-free sales experience. You're going to feel like a guest, not a customer. And if you do purchase that Genesis and you go in for maintenance, I've never seen a service aisle this nice. The coffee machine is huge and incredible looking. They got snacks everywhere. The furniture's awesome. They've got a rock waterfall fountain, the cleanest service station I've seen. It's an experience over there at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Get on by and check out their line of vehicles. It's phenomenal. Safety, incredible. The look is fantastic. The drive is exceptional. It's a fantastic line of cars. You may not have considered a Genesis because they've only been around at that location, Airline and PQ, for a little over a year. Try them out when you're in the market for a new vehicle. Every car on the lot is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's my friends at Genesis of Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Folks over at D1Baseball, Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers, Mike Rooney, Joe Healy, Mark Etheridge got together and put their collective brain power together to come up with the programs in the best shape in terms of moving forward in college baseball. And they put a top 100 together, ranked them, and 8 SEC teams made the top 10. Tennessee, Florida, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, A&M, Mississippi State, Texas, and LSU joined in the top 10 by Virginia and Florida State. Incidentally, guess I'm burying the lead there, LSU number 1 by this group. They said they awarded points for making regionals, winning the College World Series, reaching the College World Series. And they also looked at some things from 6 to 10 years ago as well, talked about facilities, talked about scholarships and funding, and LSU came out on top. And that's not a big surprise. Obviously, LSU stumbled out of the gates. That'd be kindly phrasing it last year in SEC play when you start 3-12 in the league. But Tennessee comes right after LSU, which is just wild to think about because really most of my teenage to college to young professional life, Tennessee was just a doormat in the SEC. I realized they were great in the Chris Burke years, but they were awful most of the time. And now Tony Vitello showed up there and made them into a power, a consistent power. national champions now, and they're obviously not looking to slow down anytime soon. And you've seen big jobs open, and Tony Vitello hasn't left, so feels like he's going to be there for a little bit, and they're going to be pretty good for a little bit. But LSU is as well. You can go to lsusports.net or d1baseball.com and read this ranking. But point stands that LSU's in really, really good shape from a baseball perspective. I know that last year was disappointing to start the way that they did in league play and then to get to the postseason and come up a couple of innings short. But that doesn't mean that the program's in bad shape. The program's in great shape. And as long as Jay Johnson's there, he understands how to put a roster together year over year. The one last year just took a little bit too long to come together. But by the time the end came, they were really good. Like, they could play with everybody at that point. They just came up a tick short at Chapel Hill. And maybe they came up just a little bit short because Christian Little got hurt in Hoover. Like, that may have been the ultimate difference. Maybe you don't see the ridiculous effort that you got. And now I can't even remember his name. Will Helmers. I couldn't even come up with his name. Maybe he didn't even get the chance because Christian Little's out there instead of Helmers, but maybe that was the one difference that was made. But LSU has got great facilities for the players. They've got everything set up from an NIL situation. They're recruiting exceptionally well. The brand is really, really strong, and they're going to be in good shape. It's not just me, the homer guy, sitting here in Baton Rouge saying it, talking about some guys who are very much unbiased in that way with Fitt, Rogers, Rooney, Healy, and Etheridge from D1Baseball saying, hey, they're as good as anybody at this point. That's a comforting feeling. They're out there playing fall ball right now. If you want to check them out, that starts on Friday. You can also see them Saturday and Sunday this week as well. So if you're looking for a schedule, just go to the website lsusports.net or check out LSU Baseball on Twitter. They'll get you a schedule, and all the scrimmages are available to the public. The gates open like 10 minutes before. You can bring your own food and beverages in and watch a little baseball. I always enjoy it, and the weather's real nice right now. So get out there and see some Tiger baseball. We're going to pause for Sports Center. When we come back, let's preview the Denver Broncos. We'll chat with our guy Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos. That's next on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Neil and Melissa have been running Boudreaux's for 40 years down there in Napoleonville. Give yourself the peace of mind of knowing that you're not going to lose power when that storm rolls through. Could be talking about a hurricane. We know those are inevitable down here. It's been a reasonable 3-year run, but you know that next one is always on the way. Or it could be just one of those nasty afternoon summer showers that comes through and knocks the power out. I'm talking baseball there. Paul Skeens' Omaha debut against Tennessee Vols. My power went out on a Sunday afternoon because one of those storms rolled through, and I didn't have a generator. That's a problem. Don't let that happen to you. Call the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Every single generator they sell you comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty. A 7 to 10 year warranty on every generator they sell you. Give them a call at 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389. You can check them out online. It's boudreauxelectrical.com. boudreauxelectrical.com.